I'm Rani signing in from Washington in the US, and I'm an LD1. And today with us, we have David O. He's no stranger, and we all know him as the Mr. Science. He handles the regulatory affairs at Opulence Global. From his science back and his pharmaceutical background, David recognized the incredible value of Fairy Flawless as a world-class product that delivers on its promise of anti-aging. Well, you can see we're all getting younger. His enthusiasm continued with the Fountain of Life, which the most powerful antioxidant from nature, and the future development of the Safe Home Revolution collection. David is honored to be part of this incredible journey as Opulence Global changes the lives of people. Welcome, David. Welcome to the call this evening, and please take it away.
I think that we should cover some ground, going back over some things that have been in discussion for a bit. And what I mean by that is that there seems to be, and maybe it's because there's new people on board, and some of this is new to them, and which I understand certainly, because there's always a learning curve to anything. But the one thing I've noticed is, and I've talked to Sinaz about that, is a number of questions about microsilver these days. And I just wanted to sort of run through and maybe focus on that. So maybe there's a clearer understanding about this ingredient that we use. Silver is an antimicrobial, and it has been used for literally centuries. That this started with in the days of Cyrus, the Persian king, where they used to keep water in silver casks to make sure that the bacteria was destroyed. And this has been known for a long time. And they started using silver in a number of different applications over the years. And silver has always been known as a broad spectrum antimicrobial. And what does that mean when they say broad spectrum? It just means that it kills a number of pathogens effectively. Now, when we talk about, different types of silver on the market today, there's a little confusion at this stage, even with some governments, because they don't really understand the difference between microsilver, nanosilver, colloidal silver, and silver water. And if I take those last three, nanosilver, colloidal silver, and silver water, these are small particles of silver that can be absorbed by the body. And one of the things that we really stress, in terms of interacting with the governments, is that these three can lead to argyria. And argyria, if you want to look at it, is spelled Argyria. And it is a condition where the skin actually turns gray, bluish gray, and that's permanent. And that's from people taking in nanosilver for an extended length of time. And what happens is it's absorbed at the cellular level. And this can really even damage your kidneys. So it's something to be aware of. This is not necessarily safe. And I'm amazed at the number of people that say, yeah, I like to take, and I don't know why we're able to sell it here. I don't know in your respective countries, but in Canada, I could go to a health food store and get colloidal silver as a drink. And I just do not think it's exactly the safest thing, considering Health Canada has a lot of warnings about that. So they have a lot of warnings, yet they allow, nanosilver to be sold in health food stores, which I find a little strange. But regardless, people have historically drank this product to prophylactically reduce chances of pathogen activity. During COVID, of course, a lot of people started drinking colloidal silver, and that could lead to kidney damage. That could lead seriously to argyria, the graying of the skin, which is permanent. That's not reversible. So if you take a look on the internet, you'll see a number of people who have done so. And it's not a condition what anyone wants, okay? Because it makes you look like a Smurf, to be honest with you. And it's not a very pleasant condition to be saddled with. However, when we talk about microsilver, and there's a really big difference between the two, is or the compared to the other types of silver, is microsilver is large particle silver. It is at least 10 microns in size, and that's really important because it can't be absorbed by the body. And it's really important because it can't be absorbed by the skin. And so, if we understand how this works and why it works, is that our good flora on the skin is below the epidermis. And on the epidermis, on top of the skin, is where a lot of the serious pathogen activity occurs. It causes, disease states. It causes us to look old. A number of different problems occur. And that's why, and to be honest with you, I didn't know this at the beginning because I couldn't understand how microsilver could be that smart in selecting only the bad pathogens and leaving the good flora, you know, activity in place. And so, I learned a little more that the good flora that we need, a microbiome that's so important to our health is below the surface of the skin. The bad stuff is on the surface, and that's where microsilver shines. And what it is doing is that when you place that on your skin, you will not see it, of course, but when you place it on the skin, it's large particles. And if you take a look at any of the electron microscopic views of this, it's very, very porous. It's sponge-like, and it's got a very uh, large surface area. And in presence of moisture, it releases silver ions, and those silver ions disrupt the transport mechanism of bacteria and causes that to perish. And so it's very effective. It doesn't cause antibiotic resistance. It doesn't cause any issues whatsoever. And it's an ideal product. And how we started using this was in the Fairy Flawless line and the Quad AG, because during the recovery process, we place it on the skin at night, and what it's doing is reducing bacterial activity and lowering the chances of this bacteria from causing our skin to look aged. And I think that was a very important step and a very important ingredient. Subsequent to that, we've introduced microsilver products with our toothpaste. Anyone who has ever had a toothache should try our product. I've used it that way. I broke a tooth, I placed it on, and I realized because the microsilver reduces the amount of bacterial activity, it actually helped reduce the pain in my mouth until I was able to see a doctor. It's not an analgesic, but certainly did help. But we do have microsilver in our toothpaste. And why did we do that? Well, the studies show that fluoride is a potential issue, and that it leads to a number of problems from dental fluorosis to skeletal fluorosis. We're looking at even diabetes type 2 that's affiliated with that. Stomatitis is affiliated with fluoride. Stomatitis is just an inflammation of the mouth in a bad way. But interesting, they're discovering that fluoride exposure has led to the impact of neurodevelopment in children. And children who've been exposed to fluoride at a very young age, or if their mothers had been exposed while they're pregnant, have shown lower IQs when tested between the ages of 9 and 12. So as we were looking at this and we wanted to find a way to produce a toothpaste that was effective, quote unquote effective, because there's a lot of natural toothpaste on the market. but it does not deter uh, periodontal disease. It doesn't help, and it doesn't reduce the opportunity of pathogens from creating calculus, halitosis, all these other things associated with poor dental hygiene. And so when we looked at this, we discovered that, that microsilver was tested at the Erlangen Clinic over in Europe, and they had outstanding results. So from that study and our further investigations and discussions with the scientists over uh, in Europe who have studied this extensively, we decided to create a microsilver toothpaste. And this microsilver toothpaste has done extremely well. And the dental community has actually been very supportive of it, which I'm pleased to say. So it gives us an alternative to as a fluoride-free uh, toothpaste that is actually effective. So from there, we developed Sterling, and Sterling is uh, it's something I use on a daily basis because I use my hands a lot. Uh, there's a lot my bacteria load is incredibly high due to the type of work I'm doing in the lab and in the factory. And I'm moving around a lot of chemicals on a daily basis. So I really think that this is something that I would encourage people to use, especially those people with diabetes. And this is not just specific to people with diabetes, but if you are diabetic, the peripheral regions of your body, meaning your legs, your feet, they have high bacterial loads. And what you can do is place sterling on there and reduce that greatly. You can reduce the amount of bacteria impact on your extremities. But at the same time, it'll soothe the skin, support the skin's processes. It will make it, very effective. It'll make your skin actually look better, and it'll deeply moisturize it. So if you're in an environment where it is dry, I work with different chemicals that dry my hands terribly. I find that sterling is very effective. We've got a big tube of it on our desk, and we all use it when we ever get very, very dry hands from the chemicals that we're using. So I think it's a very effective product. But and then we started looking at other things, and I think people should really consider how we have approached this. And during the pandemic, a couple things really surprised me is that during the pandemic, we were looking for a way to reduce the chances of cross contamination. And all of a sudden, it became a real big buzzword. And lo and behold, we developed a microsilver spray for surfaces. And the whole idea at that point was have a mask spray. And why was that? Well, we wanted to create a mask spray because we recognized that essentially uh, our masks are just passive filters, and they weren't always necessarily effective in reducing the potential of the coronavirus. So we did some. There were some tests done on the potential of microsilver sprays. And the microsilver spray was shown to be very effective against coronavirus. And that was a real plus because we were never sure of how impactful it would be on a viral load, and it was very effective. And recognizing that the coronavirus, it really does enter through the oral cavity or our mouth, we wanted to protect ourselves. And so creating a mask spray allowed us to create a spray that uh, was active, or I should say, took a passive filter like our mask and made it an active filter. So it was actively destroying and cleansing the viruses and bacteria that could have potentially entered our body. It was very effective that way. And then they took it another step forward. They took a look at the actual impact of the spray, and they started spraying it on hard surfaces, and they did this in the transits over in Europe, and discovered this is incredibly impactful. It reduced viral activity, and they discovered that at this stage of the coronavirus, we had another weapon to try and reduce that. So I think that if if you're concerned, and the reason I'm bringing this up is we're entering the winter months. And the winter months are, times when we are actually in need of further protection. And so we have several products now that I've listed that reduce bacterial loads, will, reduce the chances of viral activity that cause so many issues to us. The other, and as we've progressed, we went over to uh, the fairy mouthwash and fairy spray, the oral spray, which I think are really nice items. They are refreshing. They reduce certainly reduce halitosis, but again, in terms of overall dental care, it'll support the reduction of the activity of bacteria that causes periodontal disease. Now, one thing people might ask, so why is microsilver so effective against periodontal disease? It's because it is impacting the bacteria that secretes the acids that break down the enamel of our teeth. So if you think about this, fluoride, and to all the dental professionals on this call, I apologize because I'm not trying to put this down, because I do know that fluoride builds up the uh, the strength of our teeth. That's why you do fluoride treatments in the dentist's office. This is why fluoride became so positive in terms of uh, you know communities accepting fluoride in their water, uh, toothpaste companies actually using fluoride in their toothpaste to help strengthen the enamel. But once we remove that, we need something else. And instead of just strengthening our teeth, what we are doing is removing the bacteria, and the bacteria that's active that causes destruction of our teeth is actually cleansed from our mouth. But the nice thing about microsilver, because it is porous, it embeds itself into our mucosal lining that's in our gums and all through our mouth, and it's got activity. So in a moist environment, it's constantly cleansing, and we can reduce the amount of bacterial load in our mouth, and at the same time provide some better dental health for us. So I think it's an important step in terms of dental health. Um, even people who really believe in fluoride. I noticed that there's quite a few people now that will add the fairy microsilver toothpaste to their regimen because it's going to make their breath smell better. They find that it does help them, uh, and they could feel a difference using it. And so there's different ways of implementing that. But again, the people who have adopted the fairy microsilver toothpaste have shown excellent results going to the dentist. And then we have also the mouthwash and the spray, and again, it just supports all that and reduces the bacteria that can otherwise cause so many issues. I, I hope, does that help explain it? I just would like to know whether that helps everyone understand this a little better. What I'm trying to do is provide a little more material so that because I get questions about this on a regular basis from governments, and some of the members will ask me more about microsilver than I expected. So if this is addressing, I hope it does help. But again, I might have to. I'm thinking of putting this in some sort of form so that you have something all the time with you, because I do get questions about microsilver, and having a firm understanding. And I know when you're with prospective clients, members, uh, there might be questions about it. And it'd be really nice if we could have something more informative and that you have something at your fingertips. Because especially with dental professionals, I do know dental professionals will might get a little upset with the fact that you say, well, we've got a fluoride-free alternative, and they'll say, well, it doesn't work. And they're very smart people. I'm like, lots of respect to them. At the same time, we want to explain our position and why our product is effective. Okay, so I'm going to try and give that to you along with studies. Do study like when I talk about studies, I need a better understanding of how studies help you. Uh, just a lot of people have never read a study in their life, and that's because of their experience. That's not a negative. That's just a reality. And so I can make references to studies. It's just that sometimes I know it's a little challenging when you're speaking to a professional about certain things, and they'll say, "Well, I need to see a study." I could give you some reference points, and maybe that will help them. If that makes sense, please tell Sanaz or Ivy about that because I need to know exactly what it means. Yeah, and although studies are good, I just don't have the time to break down the studies. And this is one of my points of being reluctant because then I open up a whole can of worms as to what this means and what that means in a study. And it can be very dense in terms of the amount of information is there or how they did it in the methodologies and what sort of analysis they did to make sure that it is, uh, you know, uh, that it is a good study. They do things like chi-squared analysis on it that I could read through, and I've done them before, and I understand that. I've done studies. It's just that studies can sometimes lead you astray into areas that you do not want to get into. And that's why, sometimes we can make references to them, but having the studies there can lead you down a path of of actual destruction as opposed to a positive experience. And maybe we can try and get some abstracts for you. Maybe that's the best way of doing it. And an abstract just tells you, the purpose of the study, how the study, and the conclusions of it. And maybe that's the best way of approaching the subject. But because I want to try and find some tools that make sense to you on a daily basis. You don't need a big study to go through everything, but you do need an abstract, and maybe that's the way we can do it. Okay. I think I think I've covered off uh, Microsilver. So let's see, how are we doing time wise? Okay, we got time. So I want to flip this over because I don't know what you're feeling. I don't know where everyone is, but I'm seeing that the cold weather is coming in right now, and that means, and I've seen it. I'm watching the stats. Is that there's a rise in uh, the coronavirus. COVID is on the rise again. So be aware of that wherever you are. COVID is not restricted to one area. And the question is, what are we going to do about this? Like, how are we going to prepare ourselves? We do have that. We've got microsilver to do some topical use. We use microsilver in our toothpaste and our mouthwashes, and that's going to reduce the chance of it entering our body. And they found out that a lot of the bacteria that enters in our body through our mouth, leads to dementia, leads to other things uh, like coronary artery disease. It's all related. We're all tied together in this. So we can protect ourselves. I think that, and I never defined it because I was talking to researchers about this, but they said that the coronavirus might be entering through our mouth. But they never came back to me and told me what they found. So I can't say definitively that was true. I haven't read anything new. If someone else has read something, I'd love to see what they've read on it. But I heard at one point that that occurred. So, but moving forward, we do have other products, and we've got Fountain of Life that you're aware of, or should be aware of, I should say. Fountain of Life is our top selling product. It is from the Norwegian spruce tree. Uh, This Norwegian spruce, and this is a product I got here. The Norwegian spruce tree is the one that it grows all over the world, but the one we use is the one growing in northern Finland. Okay, it's not growing anywhere else in the world. And the reason being is that in northern Finland, it's extremely harsh. It's a very difficult, harsh environment. And that tree has adapted itself um, to survive in the harshest of conditions. So as a result of that, when they discovered the lignin activity, and lignins, if you're new to this, are the antioxidants found in the plants, in the stem heartwood of the Norwegian spruce growing in northern Finland. It's a mouthful to say, but again, it's different than the trees growing in southern Finland and anywhere else in the world because they did test it and found out that no, the only place that you can really get the lignin activity, the antioxidant activity that we require, is the trees in northern Finland. So it's a powerful antioxidant. They found out it does a number of other things. The studies are coming out more and more, and they're finding that it impacts so many things about that. You know, when we talk about oxidative stress in our body, it reduces the oxidative stress that causes coronary artery disease, leads to cancer, leads to so many other issues, diabetes type 2. All these things are all tied together to oxidative stress. And so, and chronic inflammation, if we could reduce that with a really simple product, it works very effectively. And that's why it works so effectively. And that's why there's so many people that are called. Now, when we tie that into the coronavirus, you know, this is not a panacea. This is not going to protect you 100%, but it will strengthen our bodies. It will help us reduce the activity in our body that causes to weaken, the oxidative stress that causes so many issues, chronic inflammation in our bodies that causes us to weaken. And so it's very important that we have this on hand. Okay, and take it on a regular basis. And how many drops we to take is 30 drops a day, 10 in the morning, 10 in the afternoon, 10 in the evening. That's the ideal load because enterolactone is created from this product here, and enterolactone is converted from this in our bodies. And enterolactone has anti-metastatic, anti-cancer properties, among other things. So it is really important that we have enterolactone in our bodies. The average person takes in 1 milligram of lignans in a day. We need 50 to 100 times that. And so realistically, we can't eat enough fruits or vegetables, whatever, to cover off the lignans that we do require in our diets. But this covers it quite easily, and it's a very elegant solution that's effective. And that's why so many people who have tried this have had market changes in their life. And so anyone who hasn't tried it, it tastes very bitter. So mix it in with water or anything else, a beverage of your choice, and take it at once, and you're going to find that it's easy to take. You know, it's got some bitter notes to it, but you'll get used to it. We acclimate to that very quickly, but you might see a difference. And how long will it take? That's the next question, is that it will take. Well, in the study, it took 60 days, believe it or not, for the subjects to see a marked difference. But sometimes people see it within a few days. Good example is I was out one day and I was just talking to this guy, a real skeptic, and I brought out a bottle of Fountain of Life, and he just asked me about, you know, different things. We are talking. He's into nutrition, and he writes pieces on it. And I said, well, we have this product, Fountain of Life, and I was, you know, I talked to him about it, and he thought it was pretty funny, and he took me around his office, and he was telling everyone how I have a bottle that's going to help. You know, he says it's gonna help me. Believe it or not, he says it's gonna help me urinate better. And he said this whole office was sort of shocked me that he was just openly talking about it, and he was laughing and all that. And I said, well, okay, so I'll leave you a bottle, and if you want to try it, go ahead." 3 days later, he called me. He said, "I want to know what's in this stuff." And I told him again. I said, "Why? You see a difference?" He said, "Why? I'm not." He said, "I was joking, but." He says, "I have benign prostatic hyperplasia." which means that he has benign growth of the prostate, which means that he cannot void properly or urinate properly, and it's a problem. He said in 3 days, he said it made a difference in his life. And I think you'll find that with certain things now. If you're ever traveling and you're flying, you'll notice that after the seatbelt light comes on, there's always a group of men that'll jump up and go to the head immediately. And you'll see that they'll do that quite a few times during the flight. Those men, I guarantee you, have benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, and they cannot relieve themselves. It just means that they cannot ever empty their bladder. It always feels full. It's very uncomfortable. It is a social problem, and it's very challenging for them. This will help them reduce the size of their prostate. If you can imagine our prostate's the size of a walnut, and during benign growth, it could grow up to 200 grams. It could be huge. And so, and it squeezes the prostatic urethra, makes it impossible for them to really void properly. And so this will help them. Byproduct of this is that it blocks out DHT formation, dihydrotestosterone formation, which leads to what? Hair loss. And so along with helping our prostates, it helps our hair. For women who've experienced as they've going into their middle age, they might just experience hair loss. That is most likely from DHT formation, dihydrotestosterone formation, because women have a little bit of testosterone in their systems, and it converts over through an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase. Okay, so 5-alpha reductase, if we can attenuate that and block it with a lignin, they found that it will help women even from hair loss. Certainly with men with hair loss, there has been a difference. So that's what these things are all related to. How's it going to help us during, places like COVID? We're not going to worry about our hair, but what it's going to do is help strengthen our bodies. It's going to reduce the chronic inflammation that otherwise can impact us. And finally, Divine. Divine is a product with a number of different ingredients, from glutathione to grapeseed extract, the French maritime bark extract, to vitamin C, vitamin D, and there and zinc, and it will impact us in a very positive way because we want products in that are going to boost our immune system, and we can make that claim because we do have Health Canada approval for that. So we want to take products that are going to help support our immune system, help reduce the stresses on our body, but at the same time, help protect us. Glutathione is a master antioxidant in our body. We produce it pretty readily when we're young, but as we get old, when we get to my age, we don't produce it that effectively anymore. And lots of bad things start happening to us. And so we can replace it with a right product, with products with glutathione in it. And this is, Divine does have glutathione. The thing is that there are many products with glutathione, but it doesn't get to us. And what I mean by that is that our stomach acids will destroy glutathione going through. So you need certain technologies to be able to carry it. And we use the proper capsule technology to allow it to get to our small intestine and avoid the gastric juices that will cause it to be destroyed. And when I say avoid, it's just that it protects it from the gastric juices. So it can be absorbed in the small intestine, so we can actually use the glutathione and there along with the grapeseed extract and everything else. Uh, just on the side, lignans are not affected by our gastric juices, so that comes up. It doesn't destroy it. It gets to right through our alimentary canal to our small intestine where it is absorbed, so it's not uh, impacted that way. Now, I know I've covered lots of different things now. Are there any questions? I haven't seen any questions. Are there any questions or comments or anything else we need? Yeah, someone says that it works with prostate. It does work very well in men's health. When it's a swollen prostate, just uh, just understand the way a man's prostate works is that there's two areas, transitional zone and the peripheral zone. Transitional zone is where a benign growth occurs, and the peripheral zone is where the cancer occurs in the prostate. So if we could reduce that and lower that, and so we can reduce the size around the prostatic urethra, a man can actually void again and we can reverse it using something like Fountain of Life. Sorry, someone was saying something. I apologize.
No, it was me, David, just saying that there's no question so far. It's
Okay.
just that yeah, everyone is agreeing with you, like how wonderful the microsilver information that you've shared was great. And yeah, they would like to have the studies as a reference piece.
Yeah, I'm gonna put, I thank you for those comments because I gotta figure a way of doing this so that makes sense. Like when I look at studies, sometimes I read through it and then I read through it again and I read through it again and I go, you know what? Okay, is this useful? And if you're talking to somebody and it doesn't make sense that you get so mired up in the study that you lose focus on what you're trying to do. Like even drug companies don't do this. They don't give you the full study. They'll give you an abstract to work with, but they build around that. They'll have a study, they might have a study somewhere, but they're really careful about just handing it out and focusing on that. And you're trained to do that. This is not a question of us just, like a medical rep will spend hours and hours and hours being taped and reviewed and critiqued on how they use a study. And the question is, I don't believe that we're doing that because, they say, well, we're not at that level, but you are. If you're dealing with a medical professional, you're still doing exactly what, a professional medical rep is doing. And so if they're not mired in a study, and then I get someone saying, well, I need the study, my question is why? Medical companies don't give out studies that way. So they're very careful about that, how they position it, because they know that you could get lost in the minutia of that, and you will not get to the value proposition that you're trying to create. And so I think that I've got to figure a way of doing this so it's efficient, because there's no point you stand there for half an hour going through page to page of a study and walking through the whole thing, and at the end you forget what you were doing. A person walks away and says, "Well, it was interesting. I've got to study on this," and they have no idea what the subject material was all about. The whole idea, the premise might be, we've got an incredible microsilver line. I just covered off, you know, the history of microsilver in this study and how it was used, and then you forget to go back to the value of microsilver in the product line. So I want to make it useful. So let me put some thought into that. But if it does help, I want to make sure that it's going to help you. Okay. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, David, we have a question.
Oh, yay.
Okay, the question is, can we use FOL while doing radiation?
No. And the reason I say no is that if you're going through cancer therapy, this is an overall general statement. You should not ever use an antioxidant during radiation or chemotherapy. And this is not us saying this. This is a cancer treatment, one of the leading cancer treatment centers in North America that I spoke to, and I worked there. And they said, Absolutely not," because it could be protecting the cells that they're trying to eradicate. So don't ever use an antioxidant, and use the antioxidants only when the oncologist has given you the clearing of it, because you want to be sure it's eradicated. You do not want to stop the radiation or chemo from doing its work. Okay, and that's what it could potentially do.
Got it. We have another question.
Yep.
Can divine help someone who suffers from lupus with lupus?
Well, lupus is an autoimmune condition. Um, you know, lupus erythematosa. It's it's a very serious disease. Um, I don't know. I do know that other people have been very successful with Fountain of Life. I can't tell you specifically about lupus. It's a very specific thing. Divine can help replenish a person, uh, in terms of providing some antioxidant activity, all that. It is a supplement. It is not a drug. And if for me to say, well, it's going to work on lupus, that'd be erroneous and misleading. So I really don't know. You'd have to try that person out. Make sure before you do anything is that because a lupus sufferer will be taking medications, and make sure that antioxidants are not going to impact the medications that they're using. Talk to the doctor. Only the doctor can really relate to that because I don't know what sort of medication that person will be on, but you want to make sure that it's okay. It's a very roundabout way of saying I don't know, but I really don't know because there's not a direct study on that.
Okay, that's great. Let me see. No other questions? Anyone else? I told you all in the beginning of this call that David's going to be here, and that's
I don't know.
bombard him with all the
I'm sorry.
questions.
I talked for 45 minutes. Moving forward, and I apologize. I just want to be sure people have a chance to ask these questions about these products. Our product lines cover a lot of different areas and a lot of ground, and there's no need to, the one thing I can stress enough is things like uh, the Microsilver spray is it's not a deodorant. It was made for um, surfaces, okay? And I don't want to encourage people to start doing different things with the product all the time when I know it's out of off label. It's just that the impact of it is not going to be necessarily the best when we have other products that do a better job. That's what I'm trying to always stress. When we take a look at products like Sterling, Sterling has Fountain of Life in it. And I don't know if people realize that or not, but it has the optimal amount, which is like 5%. And if you have 5% Fountain of Life, it will do a number of different things. Okay. So we do have products that cover the spectrum, and it will make a difference and make the quality of life of so many people very different and improve the quality of life if they use it properly. So I do encourage people to use it. We do have a number of wonderful products, starting with Fountain of Life. I was one of the people that was part of the team that introduced us to uh, Opulence Global. And just so people understand the impact of Opulence Global and how much you can have an impact, this is that the doctor who discovered this and patented all this, patents are great, but if you have a patent and you're not doing anything with it, well, what is the purpose? So really, what is the purpose of having a patent on a product you can't sell or share with anybody? And when I met him about I think 14 years ago now. We had lunch together and he was talking about this wonderful product he had. He was showing me all the studies that had done already. And then he gave me that, the anecdote I've shared with everyone how his friend came to him and said he had 2 weeks to live. He'd been diagnosed with spleen cancer. And I was not familiar with spleen cancer. I'd never worked on that, but I was surprised when he told me. And he said that, yeah, it was like a 1 in a million chance of getting it. He had 2 weeks, so he had nothing to lose. And he came to him, they took out a bottle of this extract and he started taking it. And he was only taking 10 drops a day because they weren't sure of the definitive amount, and the man continued to live. And so, being all PhDs over there, they started diving into this deeply and discovering what it was. Now the thing is that they could not convince anyone that they had something. They could not convince anyone that they had a product that will help people. They could not convince governments that you can actually eat a spruce tree. And when I met him, he was very frustrated. He said, "Well, we're using it in sunscreens to help with the free radical activity on the skin, but we're unable to move this product as something you can ingest." So I took some of it. He gave me a lot. And I started taking it and trying it out myself. And I thought, oh, this is really good. I like it because I've got arthritis in my left knee that I developed at a very young age. And there's nothing I could do about that except feel sorry for myself and whine and make everyone sort of irritated at me. So I decided to try it. And it did help. I had the wrong amount. I was only doing 10 drops a day. And then when the study came out to it, 2018, where it said suggested 30 drops a day, I found another change. But during that time, I found out that this did help me. And I thought this is a wonderful product. And when the formulator for the Fairy Flawless line came forward and we had this discussion with Sanaz and Ramin, we told them about the value of the extract that became Fountain of Life. And at that point, we realized that there was an opportunity to talk to the members about a product that they can impact other people's lives with. And so that's what we did. And it's been very successful. And congratulations to you all because, this is a one-on-one thing that's really important. It's not sitting on a shelf. It gives you an opportunity to actually tell stories and give a story that makes sense to a lot of people that they can relate to. And these stories are so important because people want to try it. And, in days, I've been seeing some changes. Now, some people take a little longer. It took 20 years to develop certain issues, but all of a sudden, this product has shown some legs and it's changed everything. And so I would encourage people to at least investigate this. If you haven't investigated it, please investigate it because there's someone in your life, and you might have arthritic pain. If you're your late 40s, early 50s, or whatever, chances are that you did something when you are 20 years old, and all of a sudden you're not feeling 100%. Try this out and see what happens. Okay, and chronicle your journey. That's one thing we do all forget. We forget where we were. And the one thing is that you always forget pain. You don't realize the pain that you went through. You could talk about it, but you don't remember the exact levels of pain and discomfort. And this can make a difference. Okay. And for men who are suffering from nocturia, benign prostatic hyperplasia, all these wonderful things that occurs as we get older, I would encourage you to at least try this to see if there's going to be a market change in your life. Okay. And again, with other things, the ED that occurs, and ED, there's three possible reasons for ED, just real quickly. It's either psychological, neurological, or cardiovascular. What we can do with this product is reduce the plaque formation in our body that leads to ED. Now, I've had older men, when I say older men, in their 80s, contact me and talk about the changes that they've seen. And they're very open about it. And I'm pleased that has affected their life and they feel like they're 20 again. But again, just to understand the mechanisms of our bodies, we have the ability to reduce some of the issues that we create as we grow older. Okay, and you don't have to wait till you're 50 to use these products. We should start when we're younger. Do this prophylactically. And when I say prophylactically, just use it on a regular basis so it doesn't happen to you. Okay. Oh, there's another question here.
Yeah,
We'll
there are
take them
two
on.
questions.
Okay. Well,
Um,
okay. Well, will taking more than 30 drugs a day have a positive or negative? Well, it would be positive actually. It won't be, one thing that's really well studied is the impact of lignans, dietary lignans on menopausal women. And they've shown a great impact on menopausal women. And why is that? Because this is a phytoestrogen. You know, and this is not a negative for men. So I don't want all the men to go, oh my God, we're taking estrogen. We have estrogen in our bodies too. But for women that are going through menopause, the phytoestrogens are really important, and these phytoestrogens will support their system, and they found that it reduces the impact of menopause. 30 drops a day would be ideal. I don't understand why they're going to take more. Like when you have an ideal level of 30 drops a day, why? Why take more? There must be a reason for that. If they want to take more, go ahead, but you don't have to take that much more. But there's this thing called biofeedback that we rely on all the time. And biofeedback in natural medicine, I don't know if that's the right term or not, is one where the user will determine what is best for them. And they'll say, oh, I feel much better if I'm taking 40 drops a day. That's biofeedback. So you have to gauge that yourself. There might be a reason for it, but I don't know what that reason is off the top of my head.
Okay, David, we have a couple more questions here very
Yeah.
quickly. It's typed in the chat. So one is there one of the health products that can help with chronic nasal congestion?
I don't know what's causing the chronic nasal congestion. Chronic nasal congestion because there's so many things like allergies, everything like that. Um, you might need an antihistamine more than anything like that to try and reduce it. I don't know, quite honestly, what's causing it. Again, you have to determine that yourself. And no, please do not spray this up your nose or in places in your eyes or in your ears. I'm really serious. I had people when we started out say they're going to place it in their eyes. And I'm saying, and the question is why? This is really strong. If it's not tested for the eyes, this is not a sterile product. Number two, it's not a sterile, it's a clean product, but not sterile. So please do not put it in areas of our body which we don't want you to. Okay?
Thank you, David. The next question is if older lady is about to go on dialysis and our partners believe that she will benefit from the use of FOL,
Mhm.
how do they explain that to her and her doctor?
Okay, then you're going down a whole different route. That you're talking to her doctor. What is the doctor's position? Okay, lignans are good for kidney health, right? You'd have to pull up some things on lignans and kidney health and how that will help them. And I think that would be an article that we have to find for you. But I do know there's something on that, and then you can present that to the doctor. That and her, like you're convincing two people. Uh, you know, I think that you have to take a look at the studies itself, and that's when a study would come in handy. I'll see if I can find anything. Okay, I'll have to remind myself, but see if I can find anything on that. But I do know that in terms of kidney health, lignans are good for that. Okay.
Thank you. Well, we got a few more now. Let's keep going. Okay, Linda's asking, why does the FOL pamphlet state 5 drops twice a day and not 30? I think
Okay.
I can answer this one. It
Go
says
ahead.
5 drops for 50 kilos of your body weight. So, like I am 65 to 70, so I take about 30 drops. That's my understanding. Please correct me, David.
No, well, what happened is when we started with it, the scientists who developed this thought, they felt from their own studies that 5 drops twice a day would be effective. 10 drops a day would be an ideal level. However, it changed in 2018 when Biasiato and his group discovered that with a 7-HMR lignin, that when they started studying this, they thought, well, what is the ideal level? And it turned out to be 30 drops a day. That's very safe. And so these things it's dynamic as a study. And so we have to leave it in our pamphlets and in our bottles because that's the way Health Canada approved it. But again, we can pass this along as to what is optimal from the new studies that we see.
Perfect. Thank you. The other question is, can a 14-year-old girl with severe acne use FOL, both topical and oral?
Okay, you could. I would use it orally to reduce the chronic inflammation, but there are other better products for acne. Like Microsilver has been proven over and over to be very effective on that. So you got things like your Quad AG that has shown the right levels of Microsilver that would be very effective on acne, and I would try that. People have attested to that, but Microsilver has been tested over and over on acne-prone skin. It's been very effective.
Thank you. Let me see. Well, everyone is just sharing their input on
Okay.
using the product. Ronan is sharing that he takes 60 drops and he feels better than taking 30 drops. I think like what David has always shared with us, listen to your body. We have to listen to our body, how much is good for us. We are all cut out differently, and what someone needs is different from the next person.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. That's perfect.
And we have our partners, they say they put it around their nose, and it helps with the nasal congestion. Taking it orally, yes, I mean, we have all tried it in many different ways. Some even putting it in a diffuser and inhaling the air, and it has helped. So as always, it works differently for everyone.
Oh yeah, Amarjeet and Mike gave me this little diffuser when I was in,
Yes.
and I put it in there. I don't know where I was using it all the time. I forgot about that. It was so good. I used to have that while we're doing a call. I had that going all the time. No, someone took it, I'm sure. I'm now got to figure out where I put it, but it was so handy. Yeah, it does
Yeah.
work in the diffuser. I did use it all the time. Now, that's funny that you mentioned that. Now I'm gonna go look for it after this call. I don't want to do it. But Amarjeet and Mike, they kindly gave me one. And I thought, oh, this is great. And I used it for the longest time. I wonder where I put it now. Now,
Now
okay.
it's a treasure hunt for you, David.
I'm getting old. I misplaced it.
Yeah. So even Amarjit is sharing that she takes more when she travels, which is the same for me. Whenever I'm traveling, I end up taking like
Yeah,
maybe 40 to 50 drops, or I keep taking every like 2 to
sure.
3 hours.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, David. I think, we're already on top of the hour.
Well,
Thank you,
thank you.
everyone. Thank you, David. It was
I hope it
really,
helped a
really,
little, I apologize if you feel I rambled on and on. I know I rambled, but I
oh no,
apologize. But I hope it does help. I know these sessions are designed to sort of give you some information, but I'm trying to find ways of making sure this is more permanent. It's easy for me to talk about it, but I'd really like to see how I can make this part of your, you know, uh, dialogue on a regular basis and you're comfortable with. Okay, we'll find out.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's really amazing call this evening, everyone. I know everyone is loving the call. They said it was not rambling, but great information. They say it's their favorite
Thank you.
call. And as always, David, we always learn,
Yeah.
how Microsilver can help us.
I learned I lost my diffuser.
You learn you lost your diffuser.
That's okay, I'll
And
find it.
yes,
Amarjeet,
and
Mike, don't worry about it, I'll find it.
thank you for sharing that. COVID is on the rise again, so everyone be alert. The cold weather is around, and COVID, the flu, and all that is going to be on the rise. So maybe you want to take more, or just be more alert. Of course, take the diffuser, put it in your house.
Yes.
Yes, this call was filled with great information. And yes, as always, we learned, and different time zones. So it's really on top of the hour. I shall thank David for your valuable time. Thank you. Good night, good evening, and good afternoon to everyone.